Hello, good evening, and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you in association with the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, Goyle Company Limited, Serene Insurance, and Ghana Link Network Services, the operators of the integrated customs management system at the port. The show is also streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are streaming live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA. Again, on Facebook, we are streaming live at Port of Tema. Port of Tema. On YouTube, we are streaming live at Eye on Port Ghana. Eye on Port Ghana. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, and so make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all the transpired here on the show tonight. Please do send us your comments and messages ahead via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559019177, 0559019177. We shall be glad to read your messages and share with the rest of the world. Indeed, at the appropriate time, when I get this green light from my producers, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are back right after this break. Please stay.
Every now and again, Goyle makes good things happen. This time, Goyle has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goyle has that sorted. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the flood have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor,
I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance
for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
All right, so you're welcome back. Tonight we are zooming straight into our discussion, and when the Minister for Finance delivered the government's economic policy statement, that's the budget, there was an introduction of new tax laws and some amendments. Now, Parliament has since passed some of these amendments, and this has paved the way for the Ghana Revenue Authority to devise ways and means, strategies to implement these amendments. And so tonight we are focusing on the VAT flat rate scheme. Let me also remind you that the government has burdened the GRA with the task of collecting 80 billion Ghana cedis for 2022. 80 billion Ghana cedis for 2022. And so tonight, that's what our discussion is centered on. I'm privileged to introduce you Mr. Francis Apia Amo. He is Assistant Commissioner, Domestic Tax Division, Ghana Revenue Authority. Good evening and welcome, sir.
Good evening, and our cherished viewers.
Viewers as well.
Thank
you very much indeed. And I'm also glad to introduce you Mr. Lawrence Hochonyame, who is Principal Revenue Officer, Training and Development Department, Ghana Revenue Authority. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Great to have you in our studios.
Yeah, great to have you.
Yes, let me say Happy New Year to us.
Many
returns.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I would want us to, let listeners know some of the new amendments that were, passed in Parliament, and whether they were old ones that, that also saw some perhaps, pushing.
All right. Thank you very much, host. To start with, taxation is a creature of statutes. And so for us to administer any taxes at all, there should be a piece of legislation passed by Parliament to empower the Commissioner General to be able to administer those taxes.
Right.
And so all the taxes that we administer in this country are backed by law. We have the Income Tax Act at 896. We have the VAT Act 870. We have the Customs Act 891. We have the CST Act, that's the Communication Service Tax.
Yes.
We have the Excise Act. These are all pieces of legislations passed by Parliament. And then it gives us the mandate to be able to implement. And so in the 2022 budget, there has been amendments to all the principal enactments, not all, but three main principal enactments. The minister announced during the budget presentation that some of the laws to be amended to see how they could relieve taxpayers of the impact, the hard impact of COVID.
Yes.
And so the bill went to Parliament, and then three pieces of legislation were passed to amend the principal laws. So the first one is Act 1071. 1071 was passed to amend the Income Tax Act 896. Then the second one is 1072, Act 1072, which was also passed to amend the VAT Act 870. And then the third one is Act 1073, which was passed to amend the waiver of penalties and interest Act, Act 1065. So these are the three main laws that we'll be discussing this evening.
All right. So basically,
a moment, just to say that these three acts are on a domestic front. That's domestic tax revenue front.
Okay.
Even though he mentioned the customs as well,
Act, yeah,
they have. If there's any amendment at all, it's on the other side, on the customs side. So these three are basically on the domestic side, domestic tax revenue division aspects. Okay.
So has the authority begun the implementation of these, new amendments and laws that you have mentioned?
Yes, we have begun. Simply because
when did you start in earnest?
1st January.
Okay.
Because the Parliament passed it on and the President of the Republic of Ghana assented into the law. So the moment it is passed and assented to, it becomes law, and then we have to begin the implementation. Unless the law gives a prospective date of implementation, once we don't have that in law and then it is gazetted, then it becomes law. Right. So we have started. It's running.
Okay. Now, have you realized any difference in terms of, compliance since you started implementing these laws?
Yes, because the moment the law comes, and for us to ensure that people are really complying, we send some of our staff to go around, test purchasing here and there, especially the VAT and others. So we do, in order to know whether indeed people are complying, and indeed they are complying.
All right, to the layman, if you
but just to add to his submission, when laws are passed, the first thing that we do in Ghana Revenue Authority is to develop implementation guidelines, which the Commissioner General has done. All the implementation guidelines have been passed with respect to these laws that I've mentioned.
Right.
Then the next thing we do is to embark on public education. You know, when you pass very beautiful laws and you don't educate the public, the public is not aware of the benefits and the advantage that is in there for them, then it doesn't translate into anything. So the next critical thing we do is to embark on public education, bringing the provision to the knowledge of the people, explaining to the people in simple language what these sections apply and how they could practically apply these sections to their benefit. So I want to believe that what we are doing currently is part of the education process. We're trying to educate the public about these changes, and then that will also be part of the commencement of the implementation of it.
Yes, because I wanted to find out, because if you have started the implementation like you alluded to rightly, and you have not carried out sensitization and education, you find people trying to drag their feet in terms of compliance.
Oh, we have been engaging our stakeholders. We have been engaging our stakeholders, GUTA, AGI. We have been engaging them. We have been engaging them, so they are aware.
Okay.
They are aware.
All right. So to the layman, if you break it down a bit, the income tax, the VAT Act, the waiver, if you can break it down briefly so that they can assimilate it and understand what it really is.
All right. Well, thank you very much. The Act 1071, which amended the Income Tax Act, made changes to some provisions, very basic provisions. And all these provisions will give the taxpayer a serious advantage. It will allure to the benefit of the taxpayer. The first one I want to mention is the amendment of the tax rates for individuals, resident individuals.
Right.
We know our tax rate that we've been implementing all these years is a graduated tax rate. If I say a graduated tax rate, what it means is that those with a lower income bracket pays nothing or less, and then those that falls within the higher income bracket pays more. And so what this amendment sought to do was to change the graduated rate to make it flexible or to exempt majority of people, persons whose income falls within the lower income bracket, to be exempted from paying taxes or even to pay just marginal taxes. So the old rate, for example, the annual rate, the threshold that allows you to exempt you from paying taxes is 3,828 Ghana cedis. 3,828 Ghana cedis. That's the tax-free rate. Basically, what it means is that any individual, resident individual, who earns below 3,828 Ghana cedis is not liable to pay taxes.
Okay.
Right?
Is it annually or?
It's annual
okay,
rate,
sure.
yes.
Okay.
The amendments in 1071 revised that minimum rate to 4,380. 4,380. And then subsequently, all the
so if you earn below 4,380
per annum, you are,
as it stands now,
you are
by
not
the
liable,
new act, okay.
You are not liable to pay income tax.
Okay.
That is the tax-free rate or tax-free threshold. Then it goes on to the next stage, which is 1,320. That goes for 5%. 1,560 goes for 10%, and so on and so forth. So it's a graduated rate. What this rate basically sought to do is to introduce some flexibility. It creates an opportunity for persons in low-income groups to do tax savings. People can save. There's tax savings with this current rates when fully implemented. Like I indicated earlier, it also exempts some class of individuals from paying income tax. And then it also attempts to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Like I indicated, these rates are progressive. They are progressive. The higher you earn, you fall within the higher tax bracket or the higher marginal rate. And then the lower you earn, you are either exempted or you fall within the lower tax bracket. So basically, it's a rate that has been carefully crafted to favor those who earn incomes at a very low rate, and it cuts across all the income groups.
Right.
So the good news is that moving forward, our taxpayers will be doing some savings, tax savings, on their personal income tax payments when these rates are applied in the computation of their taxes. So that's one of the advantages. I think my colleague will continue.
Okay, yes. So we have 1072, the VAT Act.
No, there are some others with the income tax.
Okay.
Okay. And with the 1071, also, in order to cushion our businessmen, reduce the withholding tax on unprocessed gold and then rough minerals, rough diamond. When these small-scale miners able to win gold or diamond and they are selling, the purchaser, whoever is buying from these small-scale miners, have to withhold taxes from them because they have earned income and they have to withhold tax. It used to be 3%, but this 1071 reduced this rate to 1.5%, all in an attempt by the government in order to cushion our businessmen and as well as our small-scale miners. So you see that the 1071 has a lot of good offers for our citizenry. In order to reduce the, because of the COVID, the government cushions almost everybody within the country for the person to benefit from.
Some element of relief.
Yes, please.
All right, so let's... The 1071 also introduced what we call the presumptive tax system for individuals conducting business, sole proprietors, basically, individuals who are conducting business. And the benefit there is that the law introduced what we call the turnover tax, which is new. The turnover tax basically means that all retailers whose annual turnover exceeds 20,000 but does not exceed 500,000, that is between 20,000 and 500,000, qualify under the presumptive tax system. That's the turnover tax. Basically, what we're going to do is that we just pick your turnover and calculate the tax at 3% instead of the graduated rate I've mentioned earlier.
Yes.
You know, when we use the graduated rate, part of your income will be taxed at 17.5%, 25%, or even 30%.
Right.
When we apply the graduated rate for individuals. But with the presumptive tax based on turnover, which the law has introduced, when your annual turnover falls between 20,000 and 500,000, what the Commissioner General will do is just to pick your annual turnover and calculate a tax of 3% on your annual turnover, and that becomes your tax payable for the year. The question is, what happens to those whose turnover fall below 20,000? There are a lot of persons in this country who do micro businesses, small, petty trading, and their turnover for the year falls below 20,000. Now, when you fall within that category, we call them presumptive taxation based on installment. The law prescribes marginal rates. Marginal rate, it ranges between 30 cedis to 100 cedis per quarter.
Right.
30 cedis to 50 cedis per quarter. So, for example, if you are paying 30 cedis per quarter, it means that the whole year you pay 120. If you are paying 15 cedis per quarter, it means that the whole year you pay 60 Ghana cedis. So, 1071 introduced this presumptive taxation for those in the informal sector. Basically, the bottom line is that we want to make compliance very, very easy. We want, we know that the informal sector have difficulties keeping records. They also have difficulties maintaining internal controls, proper record keeping, and all that. We just want to make taxation very easy for those in the informal sector. So the modified taxation introduced in the principal enactment and amended in 1071 is to simplify the processes.
Right.
Simplify the processes for those in the informal sector and also lower the rates. So like I indicated, if we are using the graduated rate, some of your income would have gone to 25% or 30%. But this time round, what the law is suggesting or proposing, which the Commissioner General is going to implement, is that once your turnover exceeds 20,000 and less than 500,000, your turnover will be taxed at the rate of 3%. And that becomes your tax payable for the year. Right. Just to add that there are some individuals who are not covered by this dispensation.
Right.
There are people who are professionals who are doing business. So if you're a professional chartered accountant, you're a professional lawyer, and you are running a business as an individual, you are excluded from this dispensation.
Okay.
When you are an individual, you are running business and you have several businesses. You are doing consultancy, you are doing trading, you are doing several businesses, you are also excluded from this dispensation.
But how do we reconcile the fact that professionals are exempted from this one with when the president called in Bulga for professionals to pay taxes?
There's another dispensation for them.
Okay.
There's another dispensation for them.
All right.
Then those who have one business but several outlets, several outlets are also excluded from this dispensation. So assuming that you are selling cement and you have outlets, or you are selling iron rods, you have outlets all over the country, you don't fall under the turnover tax.
Okay.
You are excluded from the turnover tax.
Right.
And then there are businesses that have a very high profit to turnover ratio. So you have a high profit to turnover ratio, you are also excluded from this taxes. And all those who are excluded goes under what we call the modified cash system. The modified cash system is also a flexible way of assessing taxpayers. Is the standard rule. We determine your assessable income, we grant you all your allowable deductions, we arrive at your chargeable income, and then we calculate your taxes based on your chargeable income. So that's another dispensation which 1071 has introduced. A very flexible way of taxing those in the informal sector. The belief is that when this is fully implemented, our brothers and sisters operating in the informal sector will be able to comply voluntarily.
Right.
Voluntary compliance.
Right, but this I haven't heard you mention the Akrantie seller. A day or two ago, I was on the Cape Coast Accra stretch. You have these guys by the roadside, and they sell Akrantie.
They fall under the first category.
Just one Akrantie for like 250, 300 Ghana cedis.
They fall under the
and
first
you have people with baskets of snails also selling, cashing in. And I don't see these people paying taxes.
Yeah, all of them
because if you walk into a chop bar, sometimes you're able to sell just one snail to you for 20 cedis, 25 cedis.
Yes.
One piece of Akrantie is like 30 cedis, 50 cedis somewhere.
Our outfit offices go around and they make sure these people also pay. They pay what they call the tax stamp.
Okay.
I was even going to mention some of the amendment that the 1071 brought. So we have tax stamp. Just my brother said, those below the 20,000, they pay this tax stamp because we are assume that your income is below 20,000 for the year. Then we give you, it's on quarterly basis.
Yes.
That's where they pay either 30 cedis a quarter up to 100 Ghana cedis a quarter. So all these people that earn income also pay.
Right.
And people think that they don't pay, they pay. Simply because our outfit offices, they go around.
Okay.
We have our outfit offices all over the country. They go around and ensure. Some of our officers even go to markets, remote areas where they do markets. They have market days.
Right.
They go there and then ensure that people pay taxes. We
see.
call them rural taxation. It's a very difficult one.
Right. Okay.
And sometimes when you go to some of these petty traders, you see them pasting stickers.
Yeah.
You go to barbering shop and you see GRA sticker there. Is an indication that
they've been there.
They comply with the
Okay.
tax
All right.
payment
Okay.
under this provision.
I think we've dwelt so much on 1071. Let's move to 1072, VAT, the VAT Act. Are there any new things that have been introduced?
Yes, the 1072 has two provisions. The first one is the VAT flat rate scheme,
Sure.
where this time around the 1072 says that any retailer that earns turnover from 200,000 to 500,000 is supposed to charge VAT at 3%.
Okay.
And then the COVID levy of 1%.
Okay. So that totals 4%.
Yes, please.
All right.
So the reason is that this we
Instead
assume
of the current 17.5, or is it 12.5 or 17.5?
the currently they are still doing, before this amendment, both retailers, wholesalers were paying 3%.
3%, okay.
Yes, so for this category of taxpayers between 200,000 and 500,000, they are still with the VAT flat scheme, which is 3%. Okay, so, and the reason why we have reserved this one for this category is that, category of taxpayers is that they are bookkeeping, they have problem with the bookkeeping process here and there. So we are, just as my brother said, because of these problems, we have reserved this scheme for them, so that we're able to, it becomes easier for them to account for their workings and then do comply with the tax law. That's why we have reserved. So here, if you are a retailer, but your turnover is more than 500,000, you were excluded.
Okay.
If you are
can't apply the 3%.
You can't apply the 3%.
What would you be applying then?
You'll be applying the VAT
The
rate
normal
proper,
rate, okay.
where we allow you input and output. We allow you input and output.
Okay.
So that one, it's even more beneficial because at the end of the day, you'll be allowed for the input. You understand? Okay.
I want you to break down the input and output. What is input? What is output?
If you say input, it simply means that when you go and buy, for example, this bottle of water, from you, and then because it's vatable, because you have to charge VAT on it, you put VAT on it and you give it to me. I'm also going to use it to create more worth or value added addition. So when I finish, I must also charge VAT. Probably have to sell to my brother here. I'm also going to charge VAT because I've added value or value added created. There will be an increase small on it. And that marginal increase is what I'm going to charge VAT on it. So the expenses that are incurred when buying from you, as far as the VAT is concerned, the law will allow me to deduct it from what I'm going to sell, the VAT that I'm going to charge my brother, and then you net it off. If the difference is what you are going to pay to the government. It's very, very easy. Yes, that's the input.
Okay.
And then the output.
Okay. All right.
Just to add to that, the input is the VAT on your purchases. So anybody who sells, first you go and buy before you sell.
Yes.
Basically retailers. They buy from the wholesaler and they sell to the consumer.
Right.
When you are buying from the wholesaler, you pay VAT.
Yeah.
So the VAT that you pay on your purchases is the input. And then when you are selling to the consumer, you charge VAT.
Right.
That is your output. When you are coming to account on the standard rate, it is the difference between the VAT on your sales and the VAT on your purchases. So you subtract your purchases, VAT on your purchases, from the VAT on your sales.
Right.
It is the difference that you account for. So the VAT on your purchases is what you call the input VAT.
Right.
And then the VAT on your sales is what you call the output VAT.
Okay.
So it is the difference. The mechanic is that you deduct your input from your output. Then the difference is what you account.
Right.
You charge the VAT on. So basically, that's the difference.
All right. I just want to know, how would I appreciate what the VAT flat rate scheme is? What is it? VAT flat rate scheme.
Yeah. So, like my
As
colleague,
captured in 1072.
yeah, like my colleague rightly explained, before the passage of 1072, we have two categories of people who account for their VAT on flat rate scheme. The first category is retailers, and then the second category are wholesalers. You know, in the chain of distribution, you know, the wholesaler gets the thing from the manufacturer and then sells to the retailer, and then the retailer now sells to the consumer.
Right.
When we allow all of them to charge at the flat rate, it have impact on prices.
Right.
So what this law sought to do is to now separate the wholesalers and request that the wholesalers account for VAT on a standard rate, where the wholesalers will be able to deduct their input VAT from their output VAT and before the tax is charged. Now, when it comes to retailers, not all retailers will account for VAT on a flat rate. It is only VATs whose the retailers whose turnover exceeds 200,000 but does not exceed 500,000.
Right.
You are between 200,000 and 500,000. When you are a retailer and you fall within that category, the law allows you to charge for VAT on the flat rate scheme.
Right.
Any retailer that goes above the threshold of 500,000 would have to charge and account for VAT on a standard rate scheme.
Right.
So these are measures introduced. The benefit of this provision is that now the range, the threshold has been expanded for those for retailers.
Yes.
So 200,000 to 500,000, all those persons within that will account for VAT on a flat rate. And like my colleague rightly indicated, the presumption is that these are people who are having challenges with record keeping, internal controls, and difficulties in furnishing the Commissioner General with the required documentation. So we just pick your taxable value, and then we calculate 3% on your taxable value. Now, when your turnover exceeds, you are a retailer, but your turnover exceeds 500,000, the presumption is that you are in a position to keep proper records of your books.
Right.
You are able to engage consultants. You are able to engage tax advisors to help you put together your documentation. And so once your turnover, you are a retailer, all right, but your turnover, annual turnover, at the end of any 12-month period exceeds 500,000, you move automatically to what? The standard rate.
Right.
You join the wholesalers.
Yeah.
You join the importers. You join the manufacturers.
Yes.
All of them account for VAT on a standard rate.
Right.
So any retailer whose annual turnover exceeds 500,000 in any 12-month period would have to account for VAT on a standard rate. The law is carefully crafted to make sure that all this does not translate into price increases, cascading effect.
Yeah.
That is why some of them are going for flat rate and others are accounting for VAT on standard rate.
Right. Back to your earlier submission where you said there was one of these where professionals were exempted from, and when I mentioned, you said there was another dispensation, different for them. Can you bring us up to speed? I just want to be clear in my mind that they are captured before we move to 1073.
So we're going to, that's back to income tax.
Yes.
When you go to the second schedule of the income tax, which we call the modified taxation rule, we have three categories. We have the presumptive tax based on installments, which we have earlier on explained.
Yes.
We have the presumptive tax based on turnover, which we call the turnover tax,
Right.
which we have also explained.
Yes.
That's resident individuals whose annual turnover exceeds 20,000, but does not exceed 500,000, they fall within that category.
Yes.
We just pick the turnover for the year and tax at 3%. Simplified approach.
Sure.
Very simplified approach. Then the law says that some categories of individuals should not pay under the presumptive taxation. And then they mention the professionals. They mention businesses that an individual who is operating businesses with several outlets or doing several businesses, or an individual who is running a business with a high profit to turnover ratio. All those categories are out. The law says that those people should be taxed under what we call the modified cash basis. The modified cash basis means that we will determine your income for the year, your total income for the year. We'll take out all your expenses or your outgoings. We arrive at what we call the chargeable income, and then we tax that chargeable income using the graduated rate.
Right.
So when you are a professional lawyer or an accountant, when you are operating or running a business as an individual, as a sole proprietor, you would have to account for your income and overall income, which we call the assessable income. We deduct all the expenses or the outgoings, which we call allowable deductions. We arrive at your chargeable income, and then we subject that chargeable income to tax using the graduated rate. So all of them are covered.
Right.
All of them are covered. The tax law is structured in such a way that the law says persons, and persons include companies, individuals, entities, trust, partnership. All organizations are covered.
Okay. All right. So let me come to
let me quickly add this. With respect to the professionals, even though the accountants and that's under the income tax, that's what they explained. But under the VAT, because they are providing services, they fall under the standard rate.
Okay.
You see, once you are providing services, you fall under the standard rate.
Okay.
So the professionals, the accountants, the lawyers, they are supposed to charge VAT when they provide services, and they are giving bills to their clients to pay. They are supposed to charge VAT on it.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So let's take a look at 1073, which is the waivers and exemptions. I guess.
But before we come to 1073, there's another thing under 1072.
Okay.
1072, the principal enactment, that's the VAT Act, Section 51C, introduced zero rating. That's the rate, the tax is calculated at the rate of 0.
Okay.
For businesses that are into locally manufactured African prints, textiles, textile prints, locally manufactured African textile prints.
Okay.
The law allows them to zero rate their supplies.
Okay.
So it means that their supply is taxed at the rate of 0. Their supplies are not exempt, but it is taxed at the rate of 0.
Okay.
Now, that dispensation in the principal enactment was supposed to expire in 2021, by 31st December 2021. Now, 1072 introduced an extension of that provision to 2023.
Okay.
So they've added 2 more years.
Yes.
So all businesses that are into locally manufactured African textile prints from 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2023 are allowed to apply a VAT at the rate of 0%, which means that they can make a claim for their input tax deductions. So that's another benefit that is available, that is captured in this amendment.
All right. Okay.
Very beneficial.
So you see that from the manufacturing level, the manufacturer will not charge VAT. The wholesaler will not charge VAT up to the consumer.
Right.
So you see that at the end of the day, our African print, that's why my print is
that's the way,
cheaper.
that's the way of promoting our prints. So that,
exactly.
Made in Ghana.
Exactly.
And I like the trade minister. I think that all the time he is in these prints.
Exactly.
And the president is also leading the way, sometimes.
Basically to encourage more people to patronize.
Absolutely.
Our locally manufacturing textile companies have been suffering for some time. And these are some of the incentives that will cushion them to survive in the midst of the challenges.
Absolutely. Right. So 1073, let's quickly wrap it up before we move into other areas.
1073,
waivers and exemptions.
Yeah, 1073, still as part of the reliefs that the government is trying to give to the citizens.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, some taxpayers, because they acted contrary to the law, they have incurred penalties as well as interest.
Yes.
And for that matter, the Commissioner General would have deemed those interest and penalties as tax. That's what the Section 9 of Revenue Administration says. Penalties and interest are also part of the tax. So once you incur this, you go contrary to the law, and then this interest and penalty arise, they become part of the law. And for that matter, Commissioner General will collect it as tax debts. What this 1073 is seeking to do is to reduce, make sure that those who apply for, it is a dispensation. So if you apply that I have this challenge, I'm owing, say, 1,000 cedis, that's a principal, but the associated interest and penalty is, say, about 500. The law says that you apply to the Commissioner General from 1st January up to 30th June.
Okay.
Make satisfactory arrangements and pay this debts up to 30th June.
Okay.
We are talking about
6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
We are talking about accumulated debts and its associated interest and penalty up to 31st December 2020. Not excluding 2021.
Okay.
Okay. So you see, if you have any debts that you have accumulated up to 31st December 2020, and any interest or penalty
that is
associated, with this debt, when you apply to the Commissioner General and with the necessary arrangement to pay, Commissioner General will waive the interest and the penalty. Okay. So even if you have not registered with us, you are doing business and you have not registered with us, you are not filing returns, all those people or taxpayers are also allowed to come out and then voluntarily and declare all the income and the taxes involved, and then say, I own up. These are the taxes I ought to have paid, which I didn't pay. And for that matter, I've come here, I want to take advantage of this dispensation. And Commissioner General will not prosecute you. Only pay the principal and you are done.
All right. So you want to add something?
Just to add, generally, like he indicated, penalties arise when taxpayers fail to file returns on due dates. So once you are supposed to file returns on a particular date and you fail to do that, then the penalty is triggered. Interest arises when taxpayers fails to pay taxes on due dates. So when you fail to pay tax on a particular date, immediately it is presumed that you are keeping government money. So that money begins to accumulate interest. And we can speak on record that we have a lot of our taxpayers having accumulated interest and penalties on their files.
Right.
Huge interest and penalties over the years. And some of these interest and penalties accumulated up to 31st December 2020. So this is purely a tax amnesty. An amnesty that is introduced to cushion taxpayers. That look, once you have made an arrangement to pay the principal amount, any interest or penalties arising for failure to pay taxes on due date or failure to file returns on due date, those interests and penalties will be waived by the Commissioner General. The main law was passed last year, Act 1065.
Right.
Act 1065 had a timeline. The expiration for the application is 30th September last year. So all those who couldn't apply on or before, those who couldn't apply before 30th September last year were cut off from the dispensation under Act 1065. Now, the new budget has introduced a new dispensation, giving the opportunity, opening the window of opportunity for persons who have accumulated interest and penalties up to 31st December 2020 to come to the Commissioner General and
to own up.
And
then, make efforts to pay.
The good news is that those interest and penalties accumulated up to 31st December 2020 will be waived.
Right.
Once you've made a satisfactory arrangement with the Commissioner General to pay the principal debt, the amount that is involved, any interest and penalties
that is accrued will be waived.
That to be accrued will be waived.
Okay. All right.
That is the position.
Okay. So last year, vehicle income tax was suspended. Now, the new laws, what's the position now with respect to vehicle income tax?
The new law, that's the 1071, still have still given additional dispensation. That's the first quarter. That's up to second quarter. So we are talking up to June. Those vehicles will not pay the vehicle income tax to the extent that still, because the government still think about the citizens, it has even expanded the vehicles involved. Yes, he has added about 6 more. 6 more, to the extent that those vehicles will also not pay vehicle income tax from January up to June. So
6 types of vehicles.
Yes.
Do you have the details?
Yes, we have the details.
Yeah, so let me just walk through the list.
Yes.
Last year, taxis and private taxis were exempted up to 31st December of 2021.
Okay.
So they are still going to continue the exemption up to 30th June 2022.
Okay.
Then we have £1 Peugeot cars, those £1 cars. They were also exempted last year. Then Trotro up to 15 passengers were exempted last year.
Okay.
Then we have Trotro up to 19 passengers, Trotro up to 23 passengers, and Trotro up to 32 passengers were all exempted last year, and they'll be enjoying the exemption
this year
up to 30th June 2022. Then the new ones added are commuter, 16 to 19 passengers, Ford buses, up to 23 persons, commuter, up to 38 persons, commuter, up to 45 persons, and then tour operators above 45 persons. These are the new lists that have been added
to the 6
so they'll be
that you mentioned earlier.
The exemption for the first and the second quarter of 2020.
Vehicle income tax. They wouldn't pay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's fantastic. So let me find out what happens to taxpayers who fail to honor their obligations after the expiration of this particular period that they have been given.
Just as we indicated in our submission concerning interest and penalty.
Yes.
Once you fail to take up this dispensation, already you have debts accumulating. So we'll continue to, then it means you are still keeping government's money. So we'll continue to apply interest. We are going to apply the interest and make sure we use all the tools available to Commissioner General to collect the taxes. So we encourage all taxpayers that they know themselves that in one way or the other, they have accumulated debts or accumulated tax to pay to take advantage of this dispensation so that they will be able to cushion themselves and their businesses. Okay.
All right. Okay, so
just to add a little to what he has said, the Commissioner General has a wide range of powers, and the law grants him what we call enforcement powers. So when this opportunity is there and you fail to take advantage of this opportunity, then the Commissioner General will begin to employ all those powers. And they include garnishment of your accounts,
Garnishment of account?
Yes, we can. The Commissioner General has the power to garnish your bank account.
And what does that entail?
He will tell your bankers not to keep hold
To
of
freeze your
money,
account.
freeze your account, and transfer
What he owes you? Or
the
she owes
Commissioner
to the
General.
okay.
It's one of the powers that is available
He
to
can-
the
he
Commissioner
can,
General.
okay, exercise, okay.
Yes. And then he could also attach your property. Attachment of property. The property
To
can
sell
be either,
and defray the cost.
Movable or immovable properties. He could prosecute. He could take you to court and recover the liabilities. You could appoint a receiver to take over the assets and liabilities of the company to recover the liabilities. So these are all powers that are available. And some of these powers, the Commissioner General has been exercising them in silence. So we don't want taxpayers to get here. In GRA, we have processes of managing debt. The first step is what we call debt management. So we'll write you notices, we'll write you reminders, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
When we finish with the management of the debt and we are not there, we come to compliance. We begin to do compliance verification, compliance visits, and so on and so forth.
Right.
And the last stage is the enforcement. And it is only we employ enforcement measures on taxpayers that woefully or deliberately wants to evade taxes.
Yeah.
Then enforcement actions come in.
Comes in, okay.
So, like my colleague rightly indicated, we wish to use this opportunity to inform all our tax-paying public. Of course, we know that most taxpayers have arrears, interest, and penalties accumulated up to 31st December 2020. This is a golden opportunity.
Yeah.
Once you make an arrangement to settle the principal amount that is involved, the Commissioner General will be compelled to, under this act, waive all your penalties and interest that are due. Other than that, like he indicated, they are taxes that must be enforced ordinarily.
All right. So do you have any figures with respect to how much you were able to collect last year per this particular,
Yes.
policy?
Yeah, about 2,000 taxpayers are applied for as at 30th September. And they made a satisfactory arrangement to pay. And we're able to realize about 1.2 billion.
Wow.
That's the principal.
That's good.
Where
Not
its
bad.
associated interest and penalty was 1.1 billion. So you see how taxpayers, in one way or the other, they were owing Commissioner General and then the government a lot.
Yeah.
So this dispensation is a timely. You don't want to go back to that era where taxpayers will continue to owe government. With our target for this year, we are not going to relent on our effort at all.
Right.
We will not give any taxpayer the leeway to accumulate interest and penalties.
Yeah.
You see, so we encourage them to take advantage of this one, clear the arrears, so that going forward we're able to honor their taxes in a very simple way, so that all of us will be happy in the country.
Right. All right. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Francis Apiamo, Assistant Commissioner, Domestic Tax Division, Ghana Revenue Authority. And also in the studio, Mr. Lawrence Hochunyame, Principal Revenue Officer, Training and Development Department, Ghana Revenue Authority. The program is Eye on Port here on Metropolitan Television. And tonight we're taking a look at the 2022 budget, new tax laws that were introduced and amendments. And these amendments have been passed by Parliament. And that has paved the way for government to for the GRA to initiate steps to implement these amendments. And so that's what we're discussing tonight. We'll be back right after this break. Please do stay with us.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Gold Super XP Run 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Gold Super XP Run 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Gold Super XP Run 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Gold Super XP Run 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance
for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
All right, so you're welcome back. We'll continue with the discussion, and we'll go into your messages pretty shortly. And my producer has also given me the green light to announce that the phone lines are activated. And so the number to dial to join the discussion is 020-552-8353, 020-552-8353. You can call in and then, contribute to the discussion. Now, we recently read in the papers that the authority is undertaking a data collection exercise on properties. What's that meant to achieve? Can you explain that?
Basically, for the data collection on the properties, as part of the mandate of Ghana Revenue Authority, we are to collect rent tax. So, in order to get data and information on all the properties, we are collecting this data in order to make proper and accurate assessment and collect the taxes involved. So that's one of the legs or reasons why we are collecting this data.
Right.
And also, in the 2022 budget, GRA was asked to collaborate with the municipal and then district assemblies to collect the property tax. You see, if you look at the act that set up the GRA in section 3, you can see that the GRA is mandated to help the municipal and the district assemblies to collect their revenues.
Right.
Okay, so as part of the collaboration, we are to help them to collect the revenue that is associated with the properties.
Yes.
So that's the property tax. So it's a matter of getting this data so that we'll be able to know exactly whose property is this and the commercial value, and then so that we'll be able to calculate the exact or assess the proper taxes when it comes to property rates. And then we also look at the rent tax, which is one of our mandates.
Okay.
That one we do it every time. Because one of our mandates, we do it every
regularly,
time.
okay.
Regular. But with the property tax, that one we are going to work hand in hand with the municipal and the district assemblies, to ensure that they collect the taxes from that aspect as well. Because everybody has to contribute to the 80 billion.
Yes.
Everybody has to contribute to 80 billion.
Yes.
Yeah, some people are making it big when it comes to renting out properties, but they are not paying.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons why we are collecting the data on all the properties in the country.
Okay, so 2022, your task is, a very big one, daunting. 80 billion Ghana cedis. That's what you're supposed to collect. The target government has set for you. What are some of the strategies you are employing to be able to achieve this target?
Yeah, thank you very much. GRA is a very serious organization. We've been committed to our core mandate of mobilizing tax revenue for national development over the years. And so every organization that has been consistent with its objects has over the years gained experience in all that. Some of the measures that we'll be employing this year, if you are aware, last year the Commissioner General rolled out a massive automation of our operational processes. And this year it's going to continue. One of the challenges we realized was that most of our taxpayers were having difficulties coming to our offices, traveling long distances to make payment and so on and so forth. So we introduced the online filing of returns, online payment of taxes, and then online issuance of tax clearance certificates. These are all processes that we've tried to automate to make it easier for our taxpayers to be able to comply. They can just be in the comfort of their office, be able to file their tax returns in the comfort of their office, be able to pay their taxes through Ghana.gov, in the comfort of their office, be able to request for tax clearance certificates, and then GRA will go ahead and process it. Apart from that, our traditional methods of mobilizing revenue is compliance enforcement. These two measures, we're going to aggressively pursue that. There's going to be compliance tools. We're going to employ all our compliance tools. We're going to embark on enforcement actions, especially with recalcitrant taxpayers. There's going to be an enforcement action there. Most of our taxpayers have been migrated to what we call self-assessment regime. Self-assessment basically means that the taxpayer himself would determine his income for the year, determine his expenses for the year, and then come out with estimates of the tax payable.
Right.
What we're going to do this year is to embark on aggressive tax audits. Our officers are going to be deployed to various taxpayers to conduct field audits.
Right.
We're also going to embark on what we call desk review, where our officers will be doing review of taxpayers' returns right in the office to determine liabilities. I mean, the low-hanging fruits. We should be able to, through desk review, be able to collect those ones. And then, of course, the Commissioner General has powers under the Revenue Administration Act to publish the list of tax offenders in the Gazette or the Daily Graphic. And this year, moving forward, I mean, it's quite very possible that the Commissioner General will employ some of these tools.
Right.
Like I indicated earlier, enforcement, garnishment of account, attachment of property, and all those things are all options that the Commissioner General can enforce.
Let me add a little.
Yes.
We're also going to ensure, as part of our automation of our processes, we have what we call e-VAT, meaning to the extent that when we're able to deploy these processes, when you go to any shop and you buy, and then they issue you with the VAT invoice, the VAT invoice or that particular invoice will automatically enter into our system, so that we'll be able to know how much sales that you have done in a day, in a week, in a month. So we are bringing in what we call e-VAT, and also e-commerce. We have not forgot. We are working heavily on the e-commerce.
E-commerce. Yeah,
Okay,
so we have e-commerce here.
All right.
So let's go on to the phone lines and welcome Festus. He's calling us from Takwa. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for joining us. And regards to the people in Takwa, please flow, Festus.
Please, my problem is I've registered my business, and as a tax compliant person, I need to register for VAT so that I can invoice my customers who I transact business with them to issue them with a VAT certificate. But when I went there to register, they say I should pay 2,000. But when I registered the business they did not even cost me 500. I'm going to collect money for government. I need to pay 2,000. I need an explanation if you can help me.
Right.
Or if that is the cost, then I'll go ahead and pay.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Festus. Keep watching. Our experts would, tell you what it is. He says the business registration did not cost up to 500. Now he's been asked to pay 2,000 Ghana cedis for the VAT registration or something. You can also call. The number to dial is 020-552-8353. I understand you were rather calling the WhatsApp line. No, that's for WhatsApp, strictly messages. And so the number to dial is 020-552-8353. Be glad to oblige you and pick your calls. Yes. So who would want to take that?
Yeah, just to respond to his questions, we may not have all the facts.
Yes.
And so based on his submission,
yes,
that's going to form the basis of the answer or the response we're going to give.
Yes.
You know, when you are a taxpayer, you are required by law to register with the Ghana Revenue Authority. After you have registered with the Registrar General's Department, you are required by law to register with the Ghana Revenue Authority. The registrations are in two folds. We have the TIN registration and the tax type registration. We have the TIN registration and the tax type registration for individuals. All individuals currently, we are using their Ghana card number as their TIN.
Hold your fire, Mr. Hojunyami. Let me go on to the phone lines and welcome Isaac from Ashaiman, and then when we come back, you continue with your submission. Francis, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, please flow.
Central Steel Limited.
Where you want?
Central Steel Limited.
I didn't get that.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Central Steel Limited.
Okay, something limited. Okay.
But this month, you know, income tax, how much, you know? Income tax, how much, 1.54. And
Francis, over to my position where I say online no shaky, a breaky.
Income tax is 1.54. And the overtime tax is 48. My basic salary is 688. And my overtime salary is 653. And to me, I tax I have to know, the same like Montreal. I was the dua. We use Juma, scanning our Bunyasi to start taxing.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think he mentioned the company. My producer just fed me with it, but for purposes of this discussion, I think we should leave it out and then just, if you can sort him out with some response.
Okay.
So, to continue responding to Festus.
Okay. Before we come to
so you have
Francis,
two types,
yes.
Yeah. So we have the TIN registration and the tax type registration.
Yes.
Once you've done with this registration, it doesn't cost anything to register. It doesn't cost anything to register with GRA. These registration processes are free.
Yeah.
But the Commissioner General will not wait for you to come and file returns at the end of the year before you start making payments. Other than that, it means the whole year will just be waiting. When you come and register, we'll be waiting for you to come and make payments at the end of the year. So the law makes provision for what we call payment on account. So when the year comes and you register and you want any documentation from us, maybe you want a VAT invoice or you want a tax clearance certificate or anything, the law requires you to make some payment on account. And before we arrive at that payment, we conduct a thorough interview for you about your business.
To be able to assess his capacity and ability to pay.
Make an estimate. Are you getting it? So if they ask that he makes some payment, it may be a payment on account.
Okay.
How they arrive at that figure, because I'm not there, and I don't know the full facts.
Okay.
I may not be able to
Some
tell
people
how
say I've not made any money. Why should I pay? That kind of thing. But we'll get back. Remember, we have one outstanding question from Francis, who called in from Ashaiman.
Yeah.
Now we're going for to pick another call from Francis in Sakumono. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yes, I want to ask some questions. I based in Sakumono. My business is at Sakumono. I registered with Teshinwa Division, and then I went there to pay my tax, and I was told that my file is at Achimota, whereas I have nothing to do at Achimota. I've never gone there before. So how did that happen? Due to that, I was unable to pay my tax up to now.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. So that kind of inconvenience, he knows he's at Teshi. He went there. They say he should go to Achimota. I mean, so kind of inconveniencing. Is there any explanation we can give? But first, let's answer first. Francis from Ashaiman, who raised the issue of this company and then some of the components he mentioned and how it came about. He wants to have an understanding.
Yeah,
of
Francis
what the issue
from
is.
Ashama disclosed on phone that his basic salary is 688, and then he receives an overtime of 353, and then on the basic salary he paid a tax of 154.
Yeah,
and then on the overtime he paid a tax of 48.
Yeah.
We could verify the figures if we have applied the rates on the figures. But what I just want to tell Francis is that the basic salary is taxed per the rates we have explained, the graduated rate. So part of his income is free. The next part of his income is taxed at 5%, and so on and so forth. So the calculation, I'm sure that it is his employers that did the calculation. And I want to believe that his employers are right in arriving at 154 on the basic salary. The overtime payment is simple. The law says that when you receive an overtime payment for the month, and that overtime payment does not exceed 50% of your monthly basic salary, the whole of the overtime payment should be taxed at 5%.
Right. Okay.
But when the overtime payment exceeds 50% of your monthly basic salary, then up to 50% to be taxed at 5%, and then the excess will be taxed at 10%.
All right. Let me go onto the phone lines and welcome Raymond. Raymond is calling us from Asin Fosu. We'll pick his call, and then when we come back, we would be tackling the other Francis's issue of inconveniencing. He is supposed to be Teshi. He said he's asked to go to Achimota. So Mr. Apiamu will take that one return. Raymond, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Please flow.
I'm at People General Office, but there was an issue with one taxpayer. He has registered with Kaswa Office.
Raymond, can you lower the volume on your TV set, please? So we can hear you clearly.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, just as I was saying, we had a taxpayer at Kaswa. He has registered with Kaswa. But then lately, he has a business too around our jurisdiction. Yes, I've done that. Hello?
Yes, Raymond.
Yes, please.
We can hear you. Please flow. If you seem to be a bit distracted, can you lower the volume on your TV and flow?
Yes, please. I upload it now. My question has to do with a taxpayer at Kaswa. He registered with an office at Kaswa, and later. Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you. Please flow.
Okay, and later he came to register with Atini Fushi, but then not knowing that that's a business, he didn't have the jurisdiction. So he registered with the bank at Kaswa. So he went there to file. And then not knowing, we went to the other business at Praso to register him. And then we infused the Ghana card with a PIN number. Lately, when he was going to make payments at Kaswa office, they realized that when they make payments, it is coming to our office. The payment shows at our office. It means that the man that is paying hasn't appeared.
Right.
Because that is appearing at office. So what happened was, basically, we called them, and then they were saying that since they have registered with us, there's no way that they will accept him to make payments at Kaswa unless they come to our office to make changes. As in, we transfer him to Kaswa for them to receive the money. But I think with that issue, GRA has resolved it in relation to payment. So I just want to find out possibly how best we can resolve the issue.
All right. Thank you very much, Raymond. We are grateful to you for your call. First of all, let's deal with, Francis in Zakumono, who says he was with Teshi and Nachimota. Mr. Apiamo.
Before GRA DTRD has undergone restructuring, we used to categorize our taxpayers into three.
Yeah.
That's LTO taxpayers,
large taxpayer office, medium taxpayer office, and small taxpayer office.
Even we used to have medium taxpayers.
Absolutely, yes.
And then small taxpayers.
Yeah, sure.
So during that time, we were using this to more or less assign offices to taxpayers.
Right.
Then we did a restructuring where this time around we will make sure that wherever you are, the tax office is closer to you.
Right.
So to make transactions with GRA very simple and easy. So probably I'm surprised that the business is Teshi, but he has been asked to go to Achimota.
Yeah.
So we'll take notice of that and then worked on it.
All right.
And sure, we'll take the full details.
If you can give us the details.
Yes.
No, just
all right. So
that
I'm sure Frank can send a message to our WhatsApp line and then contact us so that we have a chat and then we would link him up with you so that you can sort him out. We'll go for another call, and this time we are taking a call from Umar, who's calling us all the way. Yeah, who's calling us all the way from the Upper West Regional Capital, Wa. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good evening. The name is Nkrumah.
Nkrumah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please, my goes to the tax. I'm hearing something like they want to tax the landlords.
Landlords.
There will be tax on.
Rent.
The
property's rent. Okay, sure. Yes. Yeah.
So I want to find out that for the time being, it doesn't mean that they were not paying any tax, or this is a new tax they are.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Nkrumah. We are grateful to you for your call. But before we deal with Mr. Nkrumah, let's tackle Raymond's situation. I think he raised some issues. I saw you taking notes. If you can respond to that before we quickly deal with that call. We don't have enough time on our hands at the moment.
If I get his submission, I think that it has to do with payments.
Yeah.
We wanted to make payment at Kaswa.
Yes.
And then the payments at Praso and this.
Yes.
Thing. Now that problem is no longer there.
Okay.
GRA is moved online. Even if you are a micro business person, you pay with Momo.
Right.
You just dial *222# and then you pay with Momo. And the system automatically recognizes that you have made payment. When you want to pay, you either pay with Momo or you pay through the bank. You go to any of our commercial banks, and then you say you want to pay your income tax.
Yeah.
You go to Ghana.gov, you generate your payment invoice.
Yes.
You go to the bank and then you go and pay.
Okay.
So you don't need to pay in a particular office. You can walk anywhere and make payment, and the payment will be credited into your account.
Okay.
So that challenge of making payment in Kaswa or making payment in Prasu shouldn't arise at all.
Okay. Yes. So let's take a look at the issue that was raised by our last caller. He had
we were in respect of, he said wanted to know whether it is
a new one
tax
or an old one. But hold your fire. Let's pick our last caller, who is Alex. Alex is calling us from Obuasi, and then we'll answer him and wrap up. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Please flow, Alex.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Please, like I said, I'm calling from Obuasi. I would like to know concerning the property tax. That is a property tax. I would like to know the difference between that and the one the assembly people are taking. And if they are also the same, what are those that assembly people are taking? What I've gotten to know is that they brought a certain report to our house. I'm renting a house in my area. So they brought it, and the amount on it and how things are being done. You see, you brought a letter and you said I should come to the office and do payment. I would like to know how the government is tracking those kind of payments, because I've been to their office recently, but when I got there, it seems like things are done in transaction, like you pay the money and you leave. Right now, the GNRA has made some improvement on their tax taking, of whereby you pay the thing through mobile money and other stuff. Is there any way the government can track the thing in such a way that people are not paying physical money, so that when you come, you give you your bill and you pay through your phone instantly, so that taking the money will not be like confusing people to, be taking money, in other ways. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. You happen to be our last caller. We are grateful to you. So quickly, let's deal with that, and then we'll come for a response for Alex as well, and then we'll wrap up.
Just as I was saying, and we even explained in our earlier submission that when it comes to rent, we were collecting rent already.
Yes.
So rent is not a new tax.
Yeah.
It has been a part of our tax type.
Yeah.
So we have been collecting rent tax all along.
Sure. Yeah.
When it comes to the property tax, we said that it is a collaboration, because we are where we experience and where knowledge when it comes to assessment and collection of revenues. That's why the arts that set up GRA says we should help the municipal and the district assemblies to collect those property tax.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. It's those that are being collected by the assembly that we are going to help them to enforce or help them to collect the taxes. So they are not, both are not new taxes. Government hasn't introduced any new taxes.
Okay, so let's deal with Alexis' issue and then wrap up.
Just to add up to the rent issue, the challenge basically is that like he indicated, we've been administering rents all this while, so it's not a new provision. And for commercial rent, it's supposed to be withholding. So when tenants are making payment to their landlord, tenants are under obligation to withhold when making payment to their landlords. So we don't have challenge with commercial rental properties. The residential rent, the law is so clear that when individuals are making payments to their landlord and their residential dwelling, individuals are not allowed to withhold. So when you have rented a place and that is where you are living with your family, and you are an individual, when you're making payment to your landlord, the law says don't withhold.
Okay.
But the obligation now is on the landlord to disclose that income for tax purposes.
Right.
So that income will be taxed in the hand of the landlord.
That is clear. Now Alexis' response, and then we wrap up.
I'm not too clear with Alexis.
What the issues he was raising? Yes.
I thought that he was talking about the collaboration between.
I think he was talking about difficulty in payment and whether you devise a means where you can easily pay with your mobile money.
Oh yeah, those issues have been very resolved.
Okay.
Our online portals are there.
So in this case, all what he has to do, if he has been given the assessment, he has to go to the GIA office. They will generate the invoice.
Yeah.
And then you go to the bank and pay through the Ghana.gov.
Okay.
Or in alternative, if he wants to pay with the Momo, just as my brother mentioned, *222# You will have the
that's it.
alternative
Okay.
to
All right. This one is from Ohima Tema. She says, great education. Thank you, and Port. Kindly find out from your panelists if a company provides services but has an annual turnover less than 200,000 Ghana cedis, would they still have to do standard VAT, or they can be allowed to do the flat rate? Now, she also continues, I would like also to find out whether the target of 80 billion Ghana cedis is just for the domestic tax revenue division or the entire GRA. It's great. They've engaged GUTA and AGI. GIF is also waiting. She says the freight forwarders are also waiting. And says, how much turnover must a company register to be a VAT agent? Is it at the point of registration or with the GRA or later in the course of the year? And there are also these messages. This one says, I'm watching your show. I'm a supplier, but anytime I submit my pro forma invoice, well, I think that we don't have enough time. So to you that sent in the messages, you would have to watch the abridged version on Ghana Television, which is Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. We'll forward your messages to Mr. Apiamo and then Mr. Hochunyame so that they can give us responses to give to you during the abridged version on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television. This is how we draw the curtain on Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Remember, it's brought to you by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, Goyle Company Limited, Serene Insurance, and Ghana Link Network Services. They are operators and implementers of the integrated customs management system at our ports. The name is Kennedy Mona. Many thanks for watching. God willing, next week we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of Iron Port. We're grateful to you for sticking around with us, and have a super week ahead. Thank you.